Peaking angles is something that all of you are going to need to learn to do at some point. And no, this isn't like when you spend all of your allowance on Valorant skins and your parents are like, eventually you're going to have to learn to save money. Because trust me, that's not true. I'm 23 and I still spend all of my money on Valorant skins. But I'm telling you, if you want to make spending money on Valorant skins worth it, you gotta learn how to peak angles properly. Otherwise, you're just going to die and not really get to use them. Now, we've done a lot of VOD reviews on the channel. Some of them go over strictly aiming habits, some of them go over strictly utility usage. Today, what I want to talk about is strictly peaking and clearing angles, because there is actually a lot of nuance to peaking angles, and how you're peaking them right now in Valorant might actually be getting you killed. But some of the things people tell you might sound like they're not that big of a deal, so even when you hear these things, you still ignore them and keep doing the same stuff. That's why we're going over it today though, so we can show you exactly what you're doing wrong and exactly how to fix it. So you're playing on Ascent and you're playing as Reyna. All agents it's important to have good mechanics for, but duelists are definitely up there as some of the most important. Because if you don't know how to peak angles properly, it's not like you have a drone to bail you out and clear those angles for you. Specifically, what I want to showcase in this first round is our hero's issue with peaking angles really close to the corner. Now, the primary reason that this is bad, obviously, is because of angle advantage. If you're peaking close to the angle, then the enemy is going to generally see you before you see them. Obviously, we want this to be the opposite. You want to see them before they see you. But the most frustrating thing in this situation is that because he's close peeking after using his blind, the Jett actually has a shorty and is in the perfect position to just one-shot him. He's got to clear his close angle because they are on an eco, obviously. And he died to a shorty right here. So maybe this is something that's hard for a gold player to see, like gold 3 is like, okay, well, like, am I just supposed to expect a shorty here? Well, in a sense, yes. Like, they're on eco. This is something that they easily could do. But the takeaway from this isn't, oh, man, like, he threw this round. He died to Jett. It's, okay, well, next time, let's try to play this a little bit more safely. Let's try to clear this angle next time. Make sure that we're a little bit further away so we don't die to this Jett. And then we can come out of it alive, hopefully. I'm assuming she gets traded right here, so that's a 1-for-1. Probably favors the Jett in this situation, just because she is on eco, but for the most part, it's not terrible. Now, this is obviously a rough situation because the Reyna was running up to flash onto site, but a lot of the times, this is why you'll actually want to use your flash for your teammates as Reyna, because it does kind of put you in an awkward position to peek out with it. Something to keep in mind too is that you'll always find excuses for why things happen in the game, but making excuses doesn't really help us get any better. So the important thing to recognize here is that there is a problem, and the problem is that this player frequently peeks close to the walls because he's running up to blind. And in this situation, because he was peeking close to the wall to use his blind, he ended up getting shortied when the enemy team was on an eco round. So maybe, like I suggested, the solution is to blind for a teammate next time. Or maybe the solution is that on eco rounds, he doesn't choose to blind at all because they have gun advantage anyway, so if they're dueling heaven, he should be able to win that gunfight. Now, I'd still say that blinding out is a good idea, and you'll notice how, and I've mentioned this in other videos, we're noticing an issue within the round, and we're thinking of ways that we can fix it. Cool thing that I like about VOD reviews, though, is that you can oftentimes pick up little things in the very first round of the game that will tell a story about the habits that the players have. So for example, take a look at this next round. Something that is really cool to see is that when this player peeks B main, it actually looks pretty sharp. His movement is good, his crosshair placement is good, and it very much looks like they're very attentively trying to peek this angle properly. That being said, there are other angles that they don't really seem to have the same attentiveness. Notice how later in the round, when they attempt to rotate towards A, their peeks are a bit more sloppy. Now granted, this is literally in their spawn. I understand him being a little bit sloppy when peeking this. However, this is how you build up good habits. You treat every angle as if you're peeking it to take a duel, and not only will you get better at peeking angles, but you'll also get caught with your guard down a lot less. The reason specifically this peek into spawn is not a good peek though is because actually 2 reasons. The first is that he's very close to the corner, and the second is that he's holding W when he goes for this peek, which gives him this sort of rounded slope to his movement. I have a problem with that peek right there. But you'll even notice, like right here, you wanna be doing this constantly. You wanna practice it on all corners. And in this situation, he's holding W around this corner. And that's why you can tell, because it gives him this sort of round motion. And that's not what you want. You want it to be fast. You want to be peaking as fast as possible. And the reason that this is faster is because you're covering, you're going. So like if you had to get from point A to point B, right? You wouldn't want to travel from point A to point B by doing like this, right? Or even by doing like this. You want to travel from point A to point B by doing this, right? That's going to be the fastest way for you to do it. So to give you an idea of why it's bad to hold W when you peak angles, this is why. It's because it gives you this curved motion, which makes you a little bit easier for the enemies to hit. Not only that, but a lot of times people do this curved motion when they're close to the corner, as he is right now. and it's going to make it so you just have to deal with more angle advantage. They're going to see you a lot earlier, and it's not optimal, right? Now, obviously, it's not likely that he's going to encounter an enemy at spawn, but he's got to be careful for this at all times. Now, we're actually going to go back and connect this to a round where this sort of movement does actually end up hurting him quite a bit. Now, in this round, he's not going to be peeking spawn. It's actually rather a hectic round, but you'll notice that he has a sheriff, and his movement is a little bit questionable. Basically, he just full sprints at this player on generator, which not only makes his peaks slower, but it makes it incredibly easy for this Raze to hit him. Even when run and gunning, the Raze is still able to pick up a kill onto him so awkwardly, and I can promise you this sort of thing doesn't happen if he's able to take a different angle for this duel. Now, because there's a lot going on in this round, I actually want to remove us from this situation. So if the editors can help me out with this one. I want to remove all other stimulus from this example and just think about where the Raze is positioned and where this Reyna is positioned. If this were a 2v1 and you had a teammate in A main, what would be the best way to approach this engagement? Would it be the way that this Reyna approached this? I'm going to assume most of you would say probably not, because if you're just running directly at the Raze, you're going to be really easy to hit because you're running in a straight line. No, the best way to take this engagement would likely be to loop around the right side and try to get a better angle on this Raze. Because if you run directly at her from B main, not only are you an easier target to hit, but you're giving her a lot more space to work with than you need to. Because if you go wide, suddenly you start to lose space that she is out of your line of sight, and this is just because of how angles work, and suddenly now you're in a better position. There's one more thing specifically that I want to talk about with this player though, and that has to deal with how players have a bad habit of clearing angles poorly. I imagine a lot of duelists have this problem of feeling like they need to clear every single angle themselves, so to solve this problem they sort of flail their mouse around when entering, and it's just not efficient. Now, clearing angles fast definitely is something that is good to be able to do as a duelist, but if you're half clearing angles, you're likely just going to get yourself killed or waste your time. I've heard Tens talk about this once on stream, and here's what he had to say.
Also, I notice, I see this so much, but people always, they like half clear something. And I feel like if you're half clearing something, you might as well not even like clear it at all, because you're just taking like, you see, like he took the effort there to clear it, but he didn't like really clear it. Like he mindlessly did the movement rather than like making sure like his brain, a way to stop this is like always thinking someone's like in a corner. So like when he was clearing this, instead of being like, oh, someone could be here, and going like, oh, you could literally just be like, someone's right here. Okay, no he isn't. And then that's like gonna ensure you that you don't what's it called, like die like that way.
Sometimes it actually kind of sucks when players in these VOD reviews have these issues because sometimes they don't get punished for it. But in this example, you'll notice he actually does get punished for it, so you can see what I actually mean. Can I just say, by the way, there's nothing that makes me happier than when you guys actually get punished for your mistakes. And I know that sounds really quirky, but it makes these videos so much better when you guys do things wrong and actually lose rounds because of them. Because, like, I can say these things are important, and then you just constantly don't clear your corners all game and get away with it. Is it really that important? The answer is yes. If you're going to clear a corner, it's important to full clear it. I think to sort of finish this video off though, something that would be good to do is take a look at what a good peek looks like from one of our Radiant coaches. This round that we're going to take a look at is from a Smurf commentary that Jaden did on the website, and specifically he's going to be playing Raze, but that's not as relevant to what we're going to showcase. What I really like about this clip specifically is how you'll notice that Jaden actually consciously backs up away from the angle as to reduce any amount of angle advantage the enemy might have, and then when he does take contact with the Raze, he strafes to the right and goes for the headshot. You'll also notice that when he's strafing around the corner looking for the jet, he uses the slicing the pie method that we've talked about before to clear these angles, while holding A and D for his movement. He's not using W and messing things up, and the only time that he gets close to the wall is when he decides that he's going to try to hide and reduce the angles Jet can see him from to play time. This doesn't really cover the topic of clearing corners all that much though, and I really want to showcase what that looks like as well, because it's not actually something that you'd expect. This last round that we're going to take a look at, Jaden does a pretty similar thing to what our Reyna did, but the difference here is that there's actually a wolf that's helping him clear the corners. But what I want you to look at is how when he's clearing these angles, he's not just full holding W onto sight. He's strafing along the walls and trying to let the wolf do the bulk of the work, because if he just uses his W key onto sight and somebody is there, it could easily get him killed. You want to try to take advantage of your strafe keys whenever you can to help you clear these angles, and this is a decent example to showcase that. But the other thing you'll notice is that his crosshair isn't just wildly swinging around all over the place, and this is something I've noticed a lot of high rank players do, which is why I need to clarify that when I say either full clear the angle or don't clear it at all, I'm not just being snarky. A lot of top Radiant level players actually just don't clear some angles. And now there's a reason why they don't clear those angles, and you're not a Radiant player, so I highly suggest just clearing your angles since you don't necessarily know those reasons. But there are some spots that are literally just bad spots to play given different situations. A big example of this is seeing players like Asuna just run into hookah unbind without clearing the left side. And the reason you might see a player do this is because no good player is going to play on the left side of hookah without having some sort of pressure from the right side. Because if Asuna runs into hookah and somebody kills him from the left side, he's just going to get traded out, and that player is literally just going to throw their life away. Now, of course, if they show pressure in hookah, he might be more cautious when clearing it, but otherwise, he's just played so many matches and has deemed this area not worth his time to clear because his opponents would never play there. Anyway, I hope this was a good breakdown on peeking angles, and there's a bit of nuance to hit, and it might seem like I'm being nitpicky, but this stuff all adds up together, and it can really matter throughout your games. As always, my name is King, and we here at Skill Capped want to thank you all for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.